Old man doing a podcast. Real weirdos, we have English degrees. Real weirdos, we talk about movies for way too goddamn long.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Reel Weirdos podcast. I'm Jesse, along with my buddy Alex, and we are the Reel Weirdos, 1.5 white dudes with English degrees who talk about movies for way too goddamn long. Today, I don't know if it'll be that long, but we're doing a little Chatcast, a little movie dump sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was sick for a full week. It's now been a full week of me sitting in a chair, dying, watching movies. And Alex was like, we're about to record our episode on Iron Man and Morbius, which is its own strange thing that we're doing. But Alex was like, "What have you been watching?" And so I figure we'll just talk about it because we like this.
Yeah,
we like this format where we just sit here and randomly talk about movies. So I'll name some of these movies that I watched this week because it was just a full week of watching movies. I don't have a girlfriend or anything, so this is what I did.
Some chicken.
But how are you
soup.
doing today, man? How are you doing? Tell the listeners what's up.
I'm good. It's been a while. Lots of movies have been watched. Lots of topics have been discussed in between last cast and now. So we are definitely backed up on material, which is good, right? You know, we have a plan going forward to sort through some stuff. And I feel like if you're listening and you're into the more contemporary stuff and you're like done with us reviewing 1940s films or Misery, this will be a good, little segue into maybe a more current vein of discussion that we'll have on the channel where we talk about the specter of modern cinema and especially, superhero movies, because it can't be ignored. We've reached the point where it's like just such a specter in movie discussion, and we bring them up tangentially all the time that I don't know, we're gonna focus at least on a little bit here and there. So we'll get into that whole superhero thing in the Iron Man or the Iron Morbius episode, I guess we'll call it. But yeah, there's a lot of cool movies coming out these days, and we want to talk about them. We're going to talk about what's on our list: The Northman. Yep.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once.
Yeah.
I think also we should cover that Nick Cage movie,
the Unbearable
the one
Weight.
where he plays Nick Cage.
The one with Pedro Pascal. Yeah. I'm down.
Yeah, that looks interesting. And then there's like a Cronenberg has gone back to body horror.
Yeah. That movie looks really good, actually.
With Vigo? Hell
yeah, dude.
Hell yeah. But so yeah, we will be covering new stuff soon. But for now, let's talk about Dr. Zhivago.
No way. Did you watch
I watched
that?
Dr. Zhivago.
Okay.
That was so I have like 15 movies here of what I watched over this week.
Oh man.
I watched more than that. But
that film, I'm glad you started off with it. That film is like very personal, has a very, very like close spot to my heart. But I'd like to hear what you thought about it first, honestly.
So I know I've seen it before, but I couldn't remember it at all.
Okay.
I thought it was
right?
really good. Yeah, it's David Lean,
Got
the
it.
director of Lawrence of Arabia. And only a few other things actually.
I think he
Most
did
of
Bridge
his
on the River
movies-
Kwai.
Yeah, I think so.
Big movies that he's done, like big productions, but he's an interesting cat.
Yeah,
for sure.
Bridge on the River Kwai was a huge one, and then let me see here.
Did he do Beckett?
No,
Okay.
he did not do Beck. He did the 48 Oliver Twist, and then a bunch of movies I've never seen. Hobson's Choice was a fun one.
Okay.
But he didn't make any big movies really until like I think Bridge on the River Kwai.
Yeah, like the
then,
60s.
And then it was Lawrence of Arabia, Dr. Zhivago, and then he had a couple flops.
Got
and
it.
That was basically it. But yeah, Dr. Zhivago, I thought it was really good. It was not as good as Bridge on the River Kwai or
Lawrence.
of course, Lawrence of Arabia.
Yeah.
I think Omar Sharif's performance is a little bit one note.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of wooden, honestly.
He has this wonder in his eyes.
Oh.
And that's kind of like,
Yeah.
I think that's why he cast him. He has this really like kind of innocent look to him. But yeah, I'm curious though why it's such a personal movie for you.
So, again, I've talked about how I had my grandfather when he moved over here from Italy, right? He became a studio musician for MGM, RKO. He played the violin. And so this movie is MGM, I believe. He was in the orchestra for this movie, and there was a moment where they needed a balalaika, which is like a traditional Russian stringed instrument. It's kind of like a mandolin. And they needed it to play Laura's theme, which is like the main theme throughout the movie. You hear it like at the beginning, you hear it throughout the middle. It's just everywhere. And he decided to restring a mandolin like a balalaika. So my great-grandfather is actually the person who's playing the mandolin in Laura's theme when you hear it in the movie.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I have the mandolin, but it's very old. It's very, like, decrepit and dusty, but it still works. It just stays in its case.
So you don't bust it out and serenade your lovely girlfriend
No.
with the balalaika?
No.
The Lara's theme?
Yeah. But no, yeah, so that
No.
movie has always been like a huge part, right? They would always play it when we were kids and be like, that's Grandpa up there fucking doing his thing. And I'm like, damn, that's cool.
Yeah, I wish I had a better. I don't know. We're kind of doing this off the cuff. I don't have like a spiel set up for Dr. Zhivago, and I was also very sick at this time, so it does kind of run together. I remember a lot of scenes of him in the snow. It's a very epic production.
It's very Russian,
you know,
right? Like,
very very Russian. Yeah, very sad.
Yep.
The specter of war haunting the entirety of it.
Poverty, class, like.
Oh yeah, poverty and class. I love for some reason I love it when at the end they're like sequestered in this one room of this like ice palace.
Yeah.
You know, like this old house that's just completely been overtaken by the elements except for the one room.
Yeah, dude, snow. So much fake snow and real snow.
So much fake snow, yeah.
Like,
I was reading about the production and it was like unduly hot.
It's probably just
So
all
they're
asbestos.
wearing these fucking like fur coats, these like
I
Russian
know.
coats and Russian hats, and you read like it was actually 105 degrees Fahrenheit. You're like, fuck those poor actors.
Seriously.
Jesus.
Can you imagine Omar Sharif just being like, no, it was actually much more temperate on the set of Lawrence of Arabia. Like, I was able to like
man.
get in the shade and cool down. It was dry, but Dr. Zhivago, they just like were blasting asbestos flakes everywhere into my face. Like, dude, the coats though, you're right. Like, it's crazy to me because the makeup back then is so thick. Like, everything is so practical. The lights are so hot. How do they just not? I would sweat all the time. Like, I couldn't be an actor because I would just be always sweating. And
Well, I guess they had like, I don't know, stage girls, you know, like mopping the faces of the actors.
that's awesome.
Which I don't know. Is that like the equivalent of fluffers?
It's kind of like
I don't know.
the kids that stand at the side of tennis courts, right? Pick up the balls, they go stray and everything, and then they run back really
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, something like that. Or those dudes who wipe down the court after a player falls.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
NBA.
In basketball, yeah, those guys
in
are the thing.
basketball. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's Dr. Zhivago.
Okay.
It's really good.
Is that in track with then like your spreadsheet that we've talked about before? Like, is that?
Oh,
you moving
yeah,
through
so
the
that's
60s?
65.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the 65 on the spreadsheet.
Nice.
I don't really want to explain that again. I guess I could. I'm just watching a lot of movies sequentially.
Yeah.
Go back to another episode to find that. Just going through cinema. But I kind of gave up on that. I go back and forth, right? Because it feels like kind of a chore when you're sticking to just like one year. You're like, I want to watch some other shit. So the next thing I watched, I just started like randomly picking things because I was sick and I was like, whatever, that looks good. So I watched The Quick and the Dead.
Got it.
Which is a 1995 film from Sam Raimi, who people know from making the original Spider-Man trilogy, and before that, like the Evil Dead trilogy, which you have not fucking seen.
I know.
For some goddamn reason, Alex.
I know.
You need to get on that. It doesn't make sense. This is like the only reality in like 10,000 possible realities where you haven't seen that.
Right, and like
It doesn't make sense.
I've exposed myself. So let me rewind that. I have consumed a lot of Bruce Campbell stuff, like just even like little biographies here and there, little articles on the internet. I'll read like an article in the magazine about him or something, and like I've watched like Ash vs. Evil Dead, a few little episodes here and there, which is like directly related to it.
It's a lovely show. Yeah.
So it's like, it's so weird to me that like I'm like riding on fumes of this guy's reputation, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell, but without ever having like digested the actual material that started it all. That happens a lot for me, man. I feel like there's a lot of stuff like that.
You need it just as a point of reference. Like, you do a podcast about movies with me.
I know.
Come on. But yeah, Quick and the Dead, I don't know if this movie's good, but I really enjoyed it.
Is this the Western?
It's like,
with
yeah,
Kurt
it's
Russell?
a Western. Sharon Stone
Gene
rolls
Hackman?
into town for like a gunfighting competition.
Okay.
And it's like run by Gene Hackman, which is great. And then you've got like Russell Crowe and Leo DiCaprio in there and all these other like character actors.
Okay.
And it's just like a fun duel movie, like all these people doing duels, all these little characters. And it's just like corny. It's fun. It feels very Sam Raimi.
Like mid-90s.
I think this is the first movie he did right after Army of Darkness, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird and interesting. If you've seen that, you can sort of
Army
like
of Darkness,
see the tone.
The one with Aaliyah, the singer?
No, Army of Darkness is the third Evil Dead film. I don't know what you're talking about.
Shit. There's like a vampire film with there was a like a pop singer at the time named Aaliyah who was like she was like the star. She was like a vampire in this series, but she got in a plane crash and died. It was like really tragic.
Oh. I remember the name Aaliyah,
Okay.
but that's about it.
You-
No, it
I
was
love
the
movies like
Army of
this,
Darkness is the third Evil Dead movie. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't seen this one either because it's Gene Hackman. It's got Leo in there.
I feel like I have seen this, but it was like a very long time ago, and it looks like a film that like 3 years after it came out in theaters, came out in 95, it would be like running on like TNT in like 98, 99, and I'm sure I caught it then at some point.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it was ever very popular, but
It looks really fun, honestly, and I mean the actors in it are amazing, and I wanted to just bring up, Russell Crowe pops up in Westerns more often than I would think. Like every once in a while I'll see a movie and he's in it and I'm like, what is this Aussie doing here?
310 to Yuma comes
Yeah.
to mind with Christian Bale. That's a great movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
What other one?
There's
what
another
other
one,
Westerns is Crow in?
Shit, he's younger in it.
A Beautiful Mind.
Dude, you know what? Is it true? The True History of the Kelly Gang, which was a terrible movie.
Oh, I have not seen that. I want to.
It wasn't very good, honestly, but it has cool actors in it. Charlie Hunnam is in it. There's another guy in it.
That's by Justin Kurzel. It's a Justin Kurzel film.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's
The
interesting.
director of the 2015 Macbeth, which we love, and Assassin's Creed, which we love even more. Yeah. Great film. That's interesting. It's interesting you say it's bad. It's got a really good meta score.
Mhm.
Good critic score, but lesser like audience score, which is usually a sign of goodness.
It's too long for me, but
Too long.
I'll have to revisit
2
that
hours
one.
and 4 minutes.
But Russell Crowe's an
Mr.
interesting
Barry
actor.
Lyndon over here.
Yeah, I know,
Can't
right?
handle 2 hours.
I know.
Anyway,
Do you
Anyway.
consider Russell Crowe just as a character actor, or just at the time in '95?
so in 95, he was not very known to American audiences. It was largely Sharon Stone
That like build it.
got him involved.
Okay.
Who was like, this guy's good. She was like, Russell Crowe's got to be in there. And she also made it clear that Leo had to be in there. I get the sense that this was like a Sharon Stone project. She even picked the director.
Oh shit.
You know?
Okay.
She picked Sam Raimi. So that's the amount of like pull that Sharon Stone had in the mid 90s,
Oh, I mean, she was a
Which is funny because
superstar.
you think about it now, you're like, oh, Sharon Stone. Yeah, she was an actress.
Yeah.
It's a classic Hollywood thing, right? Nothing against Sharon Stone, but it's like once you're over the age of 40 as a woman in Hollywood, you just tend to disappear.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially when you've like, she played her part as like the sex appeal, the sex idol. I mean, Basic Instinct, right? Like
Oh my god.
that famous scene, even in Casino, like she was great in that movie.
Beautiful. Good actress, yeah.
And
as well.
I don't know. I haven't seen her recently she was in American Beauty, wasn't she? She's the wife Which is like, I mean, that came out.
Remember.
That came out.
Welcome to the Chatcast, by the way. We're just talking.
Yeah.
Just talking about movies for way too goddamn long.
But no, that's interesting.
It
that
looks
it was
like
a
she's
project.
in stuff still. A lot of TV, a lot of movies I've never heard of.
Got it.
I don't know.
But yeah, I mean,
it happens.
You kind of like, they like blend into the background a little bit, but
it's stupid, man. She should be playing Tom Cruise's wife in these movies, but because Tom Cruise, you know, these actors have their ego, they have to have a woman who's just my age, you know, like early 30s.
Or who's been all plastic up to like they're 40, but they look like they're 22 or some shit like that. No.
Yeah.
I totally get you. Because I'm like, can I get a realistic like love interest or like normal, like middle-aged like love interest? Doesn't have to be some like hot-ass babe on the beach, you know?
Yeah, just something realistic where you're like, come on, Hollywood.
I mean,
come on.
Yeah. But either way, Sharon Stone is definitely talented enough to keep doing things. But I think it's interesting that this like Quick and the Dead thing was like her own little like pet project, you know, if you will. And I feel like when we've reviewed movies that are like that, usually it's directors like Wes Anderson or P.T. Anderson. Pet projects come off sometimes as like a little lukewarm, but I always like them more than just the really like cynical cash grab movies, right? Like it's cool to see the mind of the artist at work.
Yeah, and that's how I prefaced this. I was like, I'm not sure if this movie's good exactly, if you're going to look at it critically, but I don't really care. It's a 1995 movie from Sam Raimi that's a fun Western.
Yeah.
With like character actors shooting each other in duels, and like hilarious duels, you know?
Yeah.
So that's The Quick and the Dead.
Okay.
It's currently on Netflix. Whenever this goes out, maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I recommend it, especially if you like Sam Raimi and Gene Hackman and Sharon Stone and Russell Crowe and young Leo.
Seriously.
Okay. The next one is called Killing Them Softly. It's a 2012 film starring Brad Pitt, Ray Liotta, and Richard Jenkins from director Andrew Dominic. And this movie's fucking weird. It's not like Holy Mountain weird or like David Lynch weird. It's just like I don't know what to make of it kind of weird.
Yeah.
The director, he made Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford, which is an amazing film.
Yeah.
I love that film. And something else called Chopper. I don't know what it is. But this movie, it's like, so Brad Pitt is a hitman. But he doesn't appear till like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and it just sort of follows this bungled robbery, or this robbery where the people who do the robbery, like the people who they rob, find out about it. They rob Ray Liotta's card game. People find out about it. Brad Pitt gets called in to like ice the motherfuckers, and it's like a movie about conversations. And it's a movie about these conversations that only sort of vaguely connect, and it's like exploring these characters of this underworld and who they are with the backdrop of like, oh my god.
No, I know what you're saying. The movie is very strange. It runs in like such a weird vein of, if you want to call it like gangster movies.
Yeah, it does. It operates in that gangster land, and at the same time you have like people be at a bar and the news will be on, and there's this backdrop of like what's going on in around 2012 or 2008 possibly, even though the movie takes place in 2012. Anyway, it has like all these things about Obama and basically like what's going on in the world as a backdrop and in America. And the movie's like somehow about America and about how this is like a really cynical society where the only way to get ahead is to fuck people over.
Yep.
But the reason I'm having such trouble saying that is because the movie has a lot of trouble saying that, I think. Bearing in mind I was sick while watching this, and I watched it over a week ago.
No,
but it was just weird. Like, I don't know what to make of it. You've seen this movie, right?
I have, and I did not like it the first time I saw it. I didn't like it because I thought it was a shit movie or it was terrible. There were just certain things, like you're saying, that I just felt it was very disconnected, disjointed, given I was a little younger. So I'm like, maybe I was expecting more of a traditional plot narrative.
Well, you think like Brad Pitt as a hitman. You have this idea of it in your head.
I did not like... that didn't fit for me, you know? I don't know what it was, but I feel like having James Gandolfini really like brought home the like mobster type thing, you know. It was like an homage to like The Sopranos and his character there, but it was like, I felt like this movie was, because it was during the like financial crisis and the first time that Obama got elected, right?
Yeah, it came out in 2012, but I think it takes place like in the first Obama presidency. Yeah.
So it's like this weird allegorical kind of symbolic representation, like you said, of what the state of the country is and how that affects like everyone on a micro individual level, where it's like everyone's just so Machiavelli'd out, right? Like they're all just about like fucking people over and rising to the top. And I think that it honestly tracks with the trend that we see of Machiavelli coming into the mainstream culture again. You know, you have like rappers on SoundCloud talking about Machiavelli. You know, you have 6th graders in history class learning about Machiavelli, and it's this interesting callback to a character in history who, personally, I believe was a fuckhead. I mean, I get it. He writes about theories of realpolitik, the prince, whatever, right? That's important discourse to have when it comes to that shit, back in the Renaissance and all that. But it was like, this movie was so indicative of just trying to be like, we're cynical. Like, we live in a cynical world and it's dog eat dog. And I don't know. I just don't buy into that shit sometimes, especially if it's not played right to me.
It feels more understated than that. It doesn't feel like it's like in your face doing that. It feels like it's very present, but it feels kind of under the skin of it, where you kind of have to dig to see that.
Yeah.
Or just look at it with the right kind of eyes. I don't know. I did not dislike it. I think I was interested the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
I was very interested in what was happening, but it's definitely not a movie for everybody. Audiences fucking hated it when it came out because it's not exciting. It's pretty obtuse. Mm-hmm. It's probably pretty boring if you're not looking at it from like a kind of a literary perspective, because it is like you do have to do some mental work to try to figure out what's happening. And a lot of it is just these characters. Like you linger on James Gandolfini telling these stories.
I know.
You're like, who is this character? What does he have to do with the plot?
Yeah.
Like, what are these stories he's telling? Why do I care? And you kind of have to just like think about it laterally. And I'm not sure how to state it better than that, other than to say, yeah, it's an interesting movie.
Yeah.
If you read a lot, this is gonna sound douchey, but if you read a lot, it might be really interesting to you.
Yeah.
But general audiences, no, not at all. Not at all. I can see why people hated it, and it's a fair criticism to not like that film. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird movie.
That's what we do, though,
Should we
right?
move on?
We watch weird movies. Yeah, what was the
We
next
watch
one?
weird movies. The next one is Candyman.
Oh, shit.
2021.
Oh, okay, the newer one. Okay, I was like, damn.
The newer one, yeah. I have seen both. I only saw the first one like last year or earlier this year for the first time because I knew the new one came out,
Mm-hmm.
and then I forgot to watch the new one, and then I watched the new one. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it like I saw it too. I've seen the original one a few times. Like the original one was like one of those movies that like you would meet someone new at school or something and they'd be like, hey, have you seen this movie? You guys would like watch it and it was all dark and shit and you'd be all scared. But the new one was actually like, I was very much entertained the whole time. I thought it was scary, like maybe not like super scary, but I don't know, man. Horror movies and I are like weird because like the movie doesn't have to be immensely scary for me to think it's good, right? But some people judge horror movies that way. They're just like, I like Paranormal Activity because I was scared. I'm like, okay,
because
well, fuck.
Those movies are stupid. I'm sorry. But you're waiting for what you know is going to happen, which is a jump scare, which is the opposite of tension to me. And that's not being scared, it's being startled. However, I really enjoy horror movies. I almost never find them scary. They can be tense, but even if I don't find them tense, I can still recognize that they're well done. Like this Candyman movie, I really enjoyed it. I was not scared at all. I was not like on the edge of my seat at all.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is fun. I find horror movies fun if they're well done, and this is well done. It's 90 minutes. It has pretty good characterization. It's got some bonkers effects that are really cool. Some nice practical effects, which is dope. I like some of the shots. Like, it's pretty good filmmaking in general. It's just tight. It's clean. It does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
And I think like general audiences will be spooked by it. So,
dude, it's perfect
good.
running time at 91 minutes. It's like, which is pretty tight. Like, that's short almost.
dude, that is lean.
Yeah,
that is as lean as you can make it without being lazy.
I know.
You know?
Like,
under 90 minutes is lazy.
yeah. Unless you're like making films in the 1930s, right? Like,
What did I watch? I was talking to you guys about this on Discord. I watched something that was 80 minutes. I think we'll probably get there. Oh, it's the next one. That's right. Okay.
oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do we have anything more to say about Candyman?
No. Other than
No,
I
it's
didn't
good.
know the original one had 2 sequels that I've never seen. So,
No. Probably not worth it.
yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of going under 90 minutes and being lazy, I watched Jonah Hex. I watched this on some streaming service. It was there. I was like, it's got Josh Brolin, John Malkovich, Michael Fassbender.
Yep.
I know it's not supposed to be great, but I'll watch it.
And
Oof. It was I don't know if I want to say it was like the Morbius of that year, because it's not that bad, but
I've never
it was
seen
pretty
it.
bad. I've forgotten 99% of it.
Ooh.
It was just so the premise is like Josh Brolin is like, I think he's like an undead cowboy, or he talks to the dead. I've already forgotten this film.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just 80 minutes of cobbled together scenes that vaguely connect, that are just, you know, there to have action scenes.
Yeah.
And Megan Fox looking foxy.
God.
And it's bad. It's dumb. It's forgettable. It's not exactly generic. It's generic in structure. It's kind of a cool premise, and I love Josh Brolin. But yeah, I don't know. it's 80 minutes of you'll probably enjoy it if you're 13.
I have never seen
You
this
know?
movie. But I remember when this movie came out. Yeah, okay. This is like the cowboy superhero thing.
Yeah, it's like a DC movie, I
Okay.
believe.
You know, the cast is actually pretty solid. Like, Michael
Yeah.
Shannon's in it. Like, damn.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I know this isn't going to be great, but whatever. I'm sick. I want to watch something dumb.
Mhm.
Whatever, you know. This was in my I'm going to watch junk phase of the sickness.
Yeah.
Of my illness, because I went from Killing Them Softly and I was like Candyman, Jonah Hex, and then the next one is Constantine.
Hell yeah.
Which we'll just jump over because fuck Jonah Hex.
No, yeah,
like,
dude.
I'm sorry. I think from what I understand, they tried to make a good movie and the production just fell apart.
Okay.
For whatever reason. But
Shit
yeah.
happens, you know. They probably had to fund.
Shit happens. They didn't even
Dungeon
have
Siege.
enough footage to make it 90 minutes. It's 81 minutes. It's not even feature length, and they had the gall to put it in theaters.
The editor literally has no film cut on the floor at all. It's just done.
Oh, I had a thought. I remembered this. I had a thought while watching Jonah Hex, and I was like, the poor editor. Like, you have to spend months out of your life editing this. Sometimes do you have that thought when you watch a really bad movie?
Well, I wonder always, like, so they give awards for editing, cinematography, right? Which are 2 independent awards. But I'm always wondering, like, how much directing did the director do when he was like, he saw what you were doing and he was like, no, I don't want it like that. Right? Like, so I don't know how much you can impress in your own artistic way. I'm sure they have like cool collaborations and agreements about which space they can explore. But it is interesting to think about, like, what would you do if like Jodorowsky handed you the entire raw uncut film of Holy Mountain, right? And as an
All
editor,
the footage, and he's just
Yeah.
like, go for it.
yeah, like it would just be interesting. Or even the people on Quentin Tarantino movies, because his movies are very tightly edited, but he is such a, I don't want to say like a dictator and authoritarian. He's just so involved at almost every level of filmmaking. But I don't know how deep he goes into every technical aspect.
I would guarantee that Tarantino is sitting there at the
Right.
editing desk
Right,
with the
yeah.
editor 100%. I think it varies. See, I have this thought as well a lot of the time, Alex, and I'm glad you brought it up just generally, because we think about it all being from the director, right? And we talk about that a lot, how
Mhm.
it's the directorial stamp. But a lot of the times, shot composition comes from the cinematographer, and the rhythm of a scene comes from an editor. So it is like a bigger gray area a lot of the time than we give it credit for. Like, we talk about the director and the directing because that's an easy way of like elucidating what we think about a style. But there is more to it than that, to greater or lesser degrees. It's hard to know because sometimes the director really is in charge of like all this shit.
Yeah.
He's looking through the camera, but sometimes not.
Kubrick,
you have great
definitely
cinematographers. Sometimes like a film, the director won't have any say in the editing.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these superhero movies.
Oh,
I think that
100%.
it's just the studio.
So that
Like-
that's what I was kind of like going to bring up. That was like what I was getting at with my discussion point, was like it feels somewhat sterile sometimes in those situations when it's truly like non-collaborative, right? Like you're in like a vacuum sealed assembly line room and you're like, well, this is the director's box. I'm done with the film. Now I hand it off to the editors. And it's just the studio who monitors all of these different like positions, right? And it's like maybe the editor and the director never even spoke to each other. They were just like, the studio was like, oh, we'll get an editor after. Just film the shit. We'll take it. We'll do our shit with it. I don't know.
I think that's
feels weird.
pretty rare. I think most directors care about what they're making
Yeah.
because they're spending at least a year of their life on it. And it's a rare circumstance when it's completely taken away from them. And a lot of the times they'll edit it themselves and make their movie before it gets taken away from them. Like a great example of some of the worst editing is the first Suicide Squad movie, where like they hired a real director to make a movie and then completely just destroyed whatever his movie was and recut it, without his, I don't know, blessing.
Yeah.
But then it's all, and you like to think that it's only bad things that happen from that, because usually it's like, oh, if the movie's good, like that's probably because the director was able to fulfill their vision.
Yeah.
But then like there's the stories about how Star Wars, the original Star Wars, was saved in editing because George Lucas's cut was just like flat and empty and like crap.
It, like, probably.
So they had other people come in and edit it and make it what it was.
Yeah. Like,
So it's weird, man. Movies are weird. They're a weird collaborative like monster, and it's hard to disassemble that monster,
it is. Especially when like everyone, I mean, we all do this. Everyone has a tendency to like, when it comes to films, actors, director, maybe if you want to get into like screenwriters, and then that's pretty much it. And like the director and the screenwriter are things that even just a more moderate person, like a person who cares more moderately about cinema would care about, right? Like at that point, it's just like, oh, I'm going to go see this new Adam Sandler movie. I like his stuff. And then it totally loses all like collaborative effort, at least optically to the audience at first, right? But everyone knows who's into movies and who makes movies, that it's like, it's really quite insane how like you can get people to try and work all as like this one unit to make this thing.
And if one part of it goes wrong, it can all fall apart.
Yeah.
It's amazing that movies work at all. It's amazing that they get made at all.
Yeah. Which
It's fucking crazy.
like I think is a testament to when you see little directors, like, I'm just gonna throw this one out there, but like David Lynch films himself doing like weird little things, or even like Val Kilmer, right? Just carrying a video camera around with him. There's something special about being able to film a moment and then like watch it back. And then that's just like a very personal thing, right? But then you take it to this totally different level where you're just like, hey, I filmed this thing. And you have like actors and writers and lighting guys and all these different people are like, okay, we could do this with it. And you stretch it out into this like crazy thing. So I don't know. It always brings the wonder back to me when it's like, when they talk about like the Great Train Robbery or like the Moon movie by George Méliès, where
Oh yeah, Trip to the Moon.
yeah, where like people watch it now and they're just like, this is so simple. Like, how could it ever have been entertaining? And I'm like, well,
Dude, the biggest invention in the history of cinema was when a guy figured out editing.
Yeah, right?
Not even editing. He would stop the camera and then restart it with an actor in a different position.
Yeah.
Which like played with temporality.
Exactly.
It played with space and temporality. Previous to that, people just had one shot. You'd have a shot of a train coming at you.
Yeah. It's like Mario,
like
the first Mario games, right? It's just like the side scroller, like 2D type thing where it's just like, well, we can only kind of film like what the camera catches in front of us. It's like the human eye. But then, you have someone who's not super invested in the directing or the story, just like a technical person or a collaborator off to the side that is like, you know what, like, give me that. I can take it to my studio, dip it in that liquid and shit, cut it up. And like, you're right about editing and cinematography having like an almost gargantuan but like unspoken effect on how a film will do, right? Go to Hard Rain, for example. Like, some of those shots and just like pans of like jet skis and like the rain and everything like that, it was almost just like, I wonder if this movie could have been cut in a different way and paced differently to make it actually seem interesting.
That might be a movie where the footage is just so bad, but it's hard to say. Alex is speaking about a film called Hard Rain from the 90s. It's a really terrible 90s action movie with Christian Slater and Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman himself recommends that you never watch it. This is true.
It's amazing.
Yeah, movies are a weird beast, man. That's why they're so interesting. I'm going to intersperse one in here.
Mm-hmm.
I also watched Aliens.
Oh.
Which is a movie I rewatch every couple years because it's just fucking perfect
mm-hmm.
and so much fun. And that's a movie, maybe this is going to sound weird to some people, but probably not if you're listening to us. But that's a movie where I'm like, I marvel at the magic of movies.
Oh my
it's
God.
So good. Everything from the characterization, the effects, those beautiful, wonderful, amazing sets, the matte paintings, the rear screen projection used in all these like cool action scenes. It's just so perfect. It's movie making 101. It is the coolest thing. I love Aliens.
Oh my God. It is. It's one of the greatest movies of all time, probably.
It is 100%.
Like,
it's so good.
So when it comes to this discussion of the two big sequels that have outperformed their, prequels or the first installments, you have Terminator 2 and you have Aliens, right? Those are like the two first
James
ones.
Cameron, baby.
Those are the ones that people bring up. And I'm like, okay, like, these movies are, first off, I love the first Terminator. I think it's better, but that's just, I don't know, it's just a personal thing. I think the second one is fucking amazing as well. I just like the introduction of the lore a little more. But then when it comes to Alien and Aliens, I love both of the movies, but they're so different, and I watch them for different reasons. The first one is more 2001 Space Odyssey, like Kubrickian almost. Like, it's like silent, eerie, slow killing, like almost like a noir in space type thing.
I don't know if I'd go that far with Kubrickian, but it's,
for the first
it is
one?
more of it's a straight up horror movie. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a monster movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
you have the characters going off by themselves when they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
That kind of shit.
But then the second one is like, it's the essence of James Cameron. That movie, it's just everything about it is so entertaining. Nothing is like ham-fisted or like shoehorned into there, even though it has the potential to get that way, right? Because he's like, I'm going to make a blockbuster action-y sequel to this first movie that was kind of a muted horror. But he does it like so well. Like, I don't know, it's funny. That movie is hilarious. The beginning few scenes where you meet the Marines and they're training, and Vasquez and her doing her thing.
Yeah.
And like, the movie is fucking hilarious. But it I don't know. I don't know what to say about Aliens, dude. It's just perfect.
It comes from an era when sequels could be done correctly. Where especially when you have somebody who's not the original director, right?
Mm-hmm.
You take the sort of premise of the original and then make a whole different thing out of it. It's not Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah.
It's not like they're not banking on nostalgia or like any of these new fucking awful Star Wars movies. where they're just banking on nostalgia and have these like crap scripts that just shove these elements in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a really good movie that stands on its own.
Yeah.
And that's why these sequels are good, because they're their own movie. They're not just like, hey, remember Darth Vader? You like that?
I know.
You fucking cow.
Dude, right.
You know?
It's like, it's all about just putting the butts into the seats. At this point, with those films like Star Wars and that shit and Jurassic Park, the movie posters, like more attention will go into the movie posters and the promotion of the film than the actual film. Because once they make that first opening box office like 450 million that first weekend, they're just like, whatever. Like,
it's so strange.
Dude, people eat it up, man. They fucking
do.
Eat
they
it
keep
up.
getting made. They keep getting fucking made. But there's a point here as well where that I think is interesting, which is James Cameron.
Yeah.
Right? Avatar 2 is coming out in like a year after 11-year hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone you talk to is like, who cares? I don't care about Avatar 2. Like, nobody cares. It's not gonna, like, nobody. It's like, dude, okay. Number one, James Cameron has been working on this for 10 years. Number two, what does James Cameron do best? He makes sequels to things that were pretty good and makes them fucking epic.
Yeah.
Point number three, there are 3 sequels planned. This is going to be huge. And point number 4, if this does flop, it's going to be the most interesting flop in cinematic history. 3 fucking Avatar sequels for a total of like $80 billion or however much these are costing.
I know.
Directed by James fucking Cameron, who is the king of the blockbuster, like modern wise. I guess Spielberg accepted, but you guys know what I'm saying.
Oh, 100%.
Y'all know what I'm saying. He's James fucking Cameron.
Yeah, dude. Like
this is going to be interesting.
This man has been to the bottom of the ocean.
They'll probably be pretty good. Like, let's be real here.
Oh, as far as
it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been a long time since Avatar, but I mean, it's gonna be interesting.
If you're going to
especially
Avatar,
in this time when like the theaters are like dying.
Oh yeah, even the thematic elements of Avatar are kind of like, you know, not necessarily reflective directly, but you can suss out some thematic elements that have also occurred in reality that you could connect to the film. But when it comes to Avatar, like, I'm excited, but not like, I'm not like excited because I'm not like, I was never a fanboy about the film directly. And if you're going to Avatar to look for like a Philip K. Dick or Isaac Asimov, like high literature level of sci-fi, that's not what these movies are. However,
never going to happen with James Cameron.
James Cameron makes like he makes the most like delectable movies, if I can put that out there as an adjective. Like, they're just so good and they're so consumable and like digestible. Like I don't know.
That's the point. So he is a genius at knowing what people want. Mm-hmm. He's a genius at making a movie that markets itself in the best possible way to make the most amount of people love it, and yet still very often like not feeling like it's pandering.
It's authentic.
In a Michael Bay kind of way, or like those Zack Snyder superhero movies kind of way. It feels, I don't know, it's weird. It doesn't feel like genuine exactly. I'm speaking specifically like Titanic.
Okay.
Onward. God damn it.
You were talking
I'm
about
still
Titan.
sick, by the way. No, not Titan. He did not make Titan.
I was like, is he making a sequel?
That'd be very fucking strange.
With Sigourney Weaver?
Yeah. No, but like Titanic was the big movie, and it did that thing where it just availed itself of all the elements to make people like fall in love with it. And you know, I don't know what my point is here exactly, but James Cameron knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. He really does, and he knows how to make people fall in love with his fucking movies, and they're always huge. Yeah. And if these aren't huge, it will be very, very strange.
No, yeah. These, like, I mean, they're all planned out until like 2030? Isn't like? Oh
my God, is it that far? Let me see.
I don't know.
Let me look them up.
I mean,
there's like 3 sequels.
Are they making them all right now?
Yeah, I'm. Let me see. Fairly certain. Yeah, they're filming. So Avatar 2 and 3 are in post-production. Avatar 4 and 5 are filming.
Dear Lord.
So yeah, up through 2028. He's like really in on this. Fucking 4 sequels, Alex, and people out there, 4 sequels.
I mean, he is the king of sequels.
People are talking about Tom Cruise being like the savior of the movie plexes right now, like the only thing that can draw people away from Marvel, hopefully. But maybe it's Avatar.
Yeah,
we will see. Although, I mean, it's Avatar kind of exists in my mind sort of simultaneous to Disney movies and superhero movies.
I was going to say, like the Venn diagram of people, right? Who are into
right.
It's almost a circle. But
yeah.
like
pretty much.
No, I mean, I wasn't even, how do I say this? I don't know what it was about Avatar that like I really liked. Obviously the CGI and the graphics and the beauty of the world. Everyone was like really drawn into that. The story was like pretty traditional. Like it wasn't like anything crazy, right? Like
it was like the easiest story ever.
It's like Dances with Wolves. Like,
Unobtainium.
Yeah. Oh my God.
You have your military guy who's like, I'm evil military guy with his cigar and his like knife, and you're like, okay,
you know,
this is fucking generic.
The unobtainium thing is actually kind of funny because I feel like there is kind of a trope with scientists and like naming things like or certain effects where they like lack the creativity to give it like a cool name, so they're just like, you know, fuck it, we're just gonna give it this name.
Reel Weirdonium.
Yeah, exactly.
If we have any scientist fans, name something that, please.
Maybe
Reel
a bird,
Weirdonium.
like a new newt.
Yeah, and a newt, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe that's enough Cameron talk. We have many more films to go through. I think this will just be our episode today. I don't think I have the energy.
No, yeah, that's fine, dude. I was gonna say I'm free until the 19th, so.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on from James Cameron, we have Constantine.
Hell yeah.
You kept bringing up Constantine, and so did some of my other friends. And so I was like, I need to watch this movie finally. Mm-hmm. And in watching it, I realized that I had already seen it.
Okay.
But a very long time ago.
Got it.
I couldn't remember. But I was like, oh, it's got fucking Shia LaBeouf as the kid in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I've seen this.
The sidekick.
And I remembered Keanu Reeves smoking.
Oh.
And
just nonstop.
It was fun.
Like.
It was a fun movie.
It is.
It was a really fun movie. It operates in the same way as like Hellboy, you know?
Yeah. So
a lot of those movies.
It does actually. Like that's a good point because I was going to say there's a certain wing or sect of my family that is like very religious and they don't get out to the movies a lot. You know, they're the kind of people that are like Harry Potter is not good for society. So it's like, okay, whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, but Constantine. Okay. Constantine is a movie that for some reason can bring the like most left radical godless fucking heathens of my family onto the couch and my like very conservative right-wing religious parts of the family, and they both just fucking love it. You know, the right wings are just getting off on this whole like religious justice thing and fucking my other side of the family is just like, I don't know, it's just a fun movie with Rachel Weisz, Peter Stormare, and the whole depiction of Satan is fucking amazing. Like when
Jimon Hansu's in
like,
there,
comes down from the fucking sky like dripping oil and shit. But no, Tilda Swinton as well as Gabriel.
Yeah,
she's fucking Gabriel. Wild in that role. Like,
yeah, she's great in everything.
Oh, she's perfect.
Let's give it up to Tilda Swinton. She's amazing.
Yeah, like,
but yeah, no, the movie is like a satanic fucking like monster movie.
Yeah,
like action movie, but it also is like verifying the belief in God. And like has that whole aesthetic, right? So that makes perfect sense how it can draw in both, because it's like he's fighting against the forces of evil and is like redeemed, and God and heaven exist. So it's like it's perfect canon. It's perfect for somebody who's like religious. Yeah.
I don't know what it is about this film. I'm never going to be one to accuse Keanu Reeves of having really dynamic range. But this movie, for some reason, he stood out like more than he didn't stand out. He hid into his role more than I've seen in most other films, even more than John Wick. I don't know what it is about, like, he has this like, it's like this badass, like badassness to him that Keanu doesn't usually play up. I feel like he's more of the time more of like the innocent or the vulnerable hero, going to like Point Break or even John Wick, you know, like his dog died and he has like this cause that he's doing this for. John Constantine is like this totally different, cynical, like postmodern take on fucking most of the characters that Keanu Reeves has played. And I thought he did really well. And I'm not usually one to like get behind Keanu Reeves on this thing, but it's like one of my favorite movies from him, other than Speed, probably.
I had that thought as well. I thought to myself, this is 2005, Keanu Reeves, long before he sort of like reinvented himself with John Wick. And I was like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
This is a perfect Keanu Reeves role. Yeah. It's a perfect role for him, and he embodies it perfectly.
I loved it.
And it's, you know, the Matrix movies, it took me a little while. It took me some years to sort of like accept him as Neo. I don't know if that's the right word, accept, but he was kind of a meme for a while for being Neo.
Oh, 100%, dude.
And we've all just kind of embraced it through the lens of history. We're like, yeah, Keanu Reeves, you know?
I mean, okay. To go on Keanu Reeves really quick. I mean, I know we're getting real into the individuals here, but whatever. It's a Chatcast.
Whatever.
Right?
It's a Chatcast, yeah.
So,
we're just chilling.
Dude, imagine turning in performances like fucking Claudio. Or no, he didn't play Claudio, excuse me. He played the villain in Much Ado About Nothing. Like, you're putting him up in Shakespeare up against some huge titans of acting. I think Anthony Hopkins is in that movie.
You love bringing this movie up when we talk about Keanu.
Dude, we're going to watch this movie, I swear. Like, Michael Keaton's in it.
I haven't seen it.
Denzel's in it. So there's so many good actors in this film. And then they have Keanu trying to play, like, the villainous Shakespeare role, who needs a lot of charisma, you know? And there's a lot of screen time for Shakespeare's villains. And it just totally flopped. And then he turns in Dracula, right? And he's just, like, the worst English accent since
so
Dick Van Dyke.
It is so bad.
But imagine just being like still that good of a person, or that like genuinely viable actor to work with and person to work with, that like his career didn't really die.
He's so likable.
Dude, like
he's the anti-Jared Leto.
Oh my God. Yes.
We'll talk about
yes.
I think we'll talk about Keanu again when we talk about Morbius.
100%. That's a perfect
like Jared
comparison,
Leto.
dude.
Yeah.
Fuck. But yeah, it's just crazy. I also thought Rachel Weisz was great in it. I've always had kind of a little crush on her ever since The Mummy. But yeah.
Oh, was that her from The Mummy?
Yeah.
I was like, where do I know this actress from? So I just think of her as like 90s actor, like early 2000s actress.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh yeah, The Fountain. That movie's fucking weird.
She's in The Lobster as well. Another strange.
Oh, she's
movie.
in the Black Widow.
Oh yeah,
Great.
she is.
I have not seen that. Speaking of superheroes. But yeah, then you move on to the next one. Constantine, great movie. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah.
It's fun. You can watch it if you're a devil boy like us, or if you love the Jesus.
Exactly.
It'll somehow equally like interesting.
Yeah.
Moving on to something very different. I think this is where I was like, I'm going to watch something that's like artistic after 3 fucking action movies. I watched Blood Simple.
Okay.
The very first film from the Coen brothers from 1984.
Oh.
Francis McDormand, Emmett Walsh, some other people. And boy, oh boy, is it great.
Was it?
It is so great. It is, I think it's maybe one of their best movies, honestly. They don't think so. They've kind of disavowed it, but I think it's like an amazing representation of auteur cinema in the 80s. Like, and some of the greatest American filmmakers finding their voice and finding it so strongly right off the bat. Not only does it have that sort of like dark tonality that they love, but it also has that comedic element. Mm-hmm. The fact that it's almost like a comedy of errors. And you, as the viewer, you can see the full picture, but none of the characters can. And so you just see them bumbling through this series of crime events and fucking up so horribly. And it has that nature where it's like the Coen brothers they kind of like these characters, but they're also laughing at them at the same time. Uh-huh. It just has this, it's like this strange version of dark Americana that is specific to the Coens, and it's like unfiltered because it's their first movie.
Okay.
It's really interesting.
That is interesting. And like, I mean, I'm looking up the film right now. I've never seen it. Came out in 1984 at the New York Film Festival. But they took the title from a Dashiell Hammett novel who I really like. Dashiell Hammett wrote The Maltese Falcon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense, actually.
Does it have like, I mean, he's considered almost like the like prototypical, you know, written literary inventor of noir, or at least detective noir. But you know, I was gonna say something about the Coens. They're like, I personally feel like they have totally carved out their own American film genre. Like, I don't know what to call it exactly, but like you were just talking about it, and we've brought it up when we talked about Inherent Vice, right? There's this weird comedy of errors, a weird direct like communication with the audience or representation of audience confusion on screen. But then there's always this element of crime and violence and things that usually in American cinema are taken very seriously. But the Coen brothers do this beautiful way of, they don't cheapen it. They make it like humorous, but they don't take away any of the serious or like the graveness about the situation for me.
It's a really weird tone.
Yeah.
It's hard to describe their tone.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like, it is. It's literary. It's funny. It's mean-spirited a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have some friends who really love the movie Burn After Reading.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it a lot as well, but it is really mean.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like laughing at these people who like go through this horrible, you know, series of dumb events. It's strange. I don't know. I still, after seeing almost all their movies, I find it hard to categorize the Coens.
Yeah.
Other than to say they're like pretty masterful at cinema.
Not only that, storytelling as well, right? There's some of the best storytellers, I would want to say, in film today. Like when it comes to the plot line or the stories, I would read their screenplays. I would read their scripts and be interested, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, they adapt a lot of them. Actually, I don't know if that's true. I'm just thinking of the fact that they adapted Cormac McCarthy, which is like, if you're going to do that, you got to have some chops.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you know, The Road, the film that came out with Vigo, I don't know who directed it. That movie was great, though. I thought it did Cormac McCarthy like justice, because that book, some of his essays and then some of his shorter stories are things that I've read. Still need to read Blood Meridian, but
yeah, you do.
But yeah, the Coens they will definitely go down and be remembered for me personally, like very fondly, and they will definitely go into my like little, you know, list of almost untouchables of people who I will always respect.
They're some of the daddies, man. If we're gonna fast forward and assume that our species survives this time, then you know, they're gonna be up there. You know, they're gonna be up there with the Kubricks, and you know, it's just a fucking fact.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
that's cool. I need to check this film
out.
Fun
fact.
Though.
That movie, it was actually remade by a director who I fucking love called Yimou Zhang.
Okay.
I don't know how to say his name exactly, but Chinese director.
Okay.
Who makes some just gorgeous, gorgeous movies. But he remade it called, with the title, A Woman, a Gun, and a Noodle Shop. So I'm going to have to watch that. It's not very well liked, but...
Okay.
Whatever. I'm going to watch it.
We'll get into, I mean, eventually one day, we'll get into Chinese, and at least for me, more like Hong Kong cinema. Also very close to my heart. You know, it was interesting because my grandfather he was ethnically like Cantonese on my mother's side. So all of that culture and everything that derives from like Canton all goes to Hong Kong, right? It was like the center of the trading world for a very long time for China. And it was owned by England for a very long time in the British Empire. So you have this very cool and strange like mix of like cinema being held up as culturally important and also having things to take from Western influence, but also things to show Western film like, hey, you can make a film look like this, XYZ. So I think it's cool that you brought that up because I would love to get into that era of filmmaking eventually. A few directors from that era that I'm like really into, including some of, you know, Bruce Lee's like fight kung fu movies. But a guy named Wong Kar-wai is like one of my favorite directors of all time, and he's from like that Hong Kong region of cinema.
What movie might I or people listening know?
In the Mood for Love is probably his most recent one that is the most well known, and it's definitely one of the most critically regarded ones.
In the Mood for Love.
Oh, it's
not interesting title.
Yeah.
Not a title of a film that like grabs me.
No,
you know?
it's
doesn't rustle my jimmies.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like I don't know, The Notebook or something.
It is definitely like a love story, but it's told and it's shot in a way that is like not the way that you think. Like it's the furthest thing from The Notebook, even though it is like pretty much the essence of the theme is romance, right? Like it's just so different, dude. And the ending is one of the most powerful and impactful movie scenes I've ever seen in my life.
Well, this is an interesting bridge. Because speaking of Asians and love stories,
oh hell yes,
I also watched Oldboy. That's
perfect.
It also had a really impactful ending.
Oh my!
Maybe not in the same way as the movie you're talking about. I don't know.
No, let's do this.
I also don't know if we should do Oldboy right now. Should it just be its own fucking episode?
I mean, we
at
could.
Some point.
You could just let everyone know that we've watched it and it's on the back burner. It's coming.
Yeah. Oldboy, we have some more movies to talk about right now. We're just going to put a pin in Oldboy because I had never seen it.
Oh, my God.
And I thought it was just going to be like a revenge movie. Oh, boy. Oh, boy, was that a weird way to start my day.
I know,
watching
man.
Oldboy.
Just in the doldrums of like fever.
Fuck me. But you'll put a pin in that. We also might put a pin in this next one because it's Battle Royale.
Oh shit, you watched
this? I rewatched Battle Royale.
Okay.
What?
I didn't know that you watched this in your sickness in this past week.
Oh, dude, I'd watched fucking a lot of stuff.
Damn. Okay. I'm definitely down to put a pin in this one, but hell yeah.
Yeah, Battle Royale we'll probably talk about at some point. It deserves more time than we'd give it right now. For sure. So we'll skip over that. But if you haven't seen that, Battle Royale from the year 2000, Japanese film, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Perfect movie. Amazing. Brutal. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anime, but insane.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Trigger warning.
See,
if you are in the United States.
Big trigger warning.
And, you know, our lovely society is in the throes of its death, apparently.
Collapse.
I don't know, like whatever it is, but there is, you know, images and whatnot of violence and children and things like that, so just be prepared when you go into that. I usually don't give trigger warnings, but for that one I'll give one.
It is a movie about high school students murdering each other in cold blood.
Yeah.
Anyway,
still a
Knives
great
Out
film.
From 2019.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ryan Johnson, much better film than the fucking disaster that was Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Same director?
Interesting that's the same director, yeah.
Oh, damn.
But it's sort of a detective whodunit with Daniel Craig investigating this house full of character actors.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the logic of the film. They're just, you know, a family. But it's got, let's see who's in this. It's Chris Evans, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Toni Collette, Christopher Plummer, like all these amazing actors.
Don Johnson is in it.
And like Don Johnson is in it. And it's just about Daniel Craig, who is so impressive as not James Bond, I have to say.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. You could see the glee and like fun in his face playing this role where he's like, oh, my God, thank God I don't have to play this
but it's about him. He's like a famous detective and he's trying to figure out what's going on with a death in this family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just all these character actors having a load of fun. The movie is just a load of fun. And like we're saying, Daniel Craig is not Bond. I saw him in something else recently too, Logan Lucky. And it might have been like one of the first things I've seen where he's not Bond. And I was like, holy shit, Daniel Craig is like a really great actor.
Oh my God. Like,
not that he's not good as Bond, but it's just I've never seen the range, you know?
Yeah, because like when The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo came out, I was like, okay, so you're James Bond as a journalist. Cool. But yeah, I love that movie, but it definitely didn't give Daniel Craig like the range and the freedom, like you said. In this film, he's got his like molasses Southern accent, you know, and he's all like all gentlemanly and like intellectual and basically just like a Southern Sherlock Holmes. And the movie is like, it's like Clue, right? It's like the board game Clue.
It is like literally Clue.
In the most, but it's like so beautifully done and shot, and like the stylistically, like the set design, everyone's costumes. It is one of the coolest and like most original movies I've seen in like a long time. And it just shows how great you can make a film off of just such a basic concept that's pretty well known too. You know, like the whodunit thing goes back to 19th century, like Victorian Gothic times.
Agatha Christie. It's like a Murder on the Orient Express kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. This film was like perfectly executed, and for me, it was really unexpected because I wasn't excited to ever watch this film. When I saw the cast and the movie, I was like, whatever. But then when I watched it at home, I was like blown away, and I was like, I need to talk about this movie. I need to see it again. And then, did you hear that like close to $500 million Netflix has already pledged to have 2 more sequels made?
I saw that there were 2 sequels in development. Yeah. I didn't know about the other part, but
that's a fuck ton of money, dude. For a company that is
great.
like,
I'm down. I'm ready to see
yeah.
Daniel Craig in more adventures as this guy. It's sort of like what Kenneth Branagh is doing right now.
I know.
Where he's making these movies about him as Poirot.
I know.
Murder and then Death on the Nile. But apparently these are better.
I mean,
I have not seen Death on the Nile. I don't know.
I love this character of Benoit Blanc, you know, like this
It's
detective.
great. It's great.
Perfect.
Yeah, so Knives Out. Just go watch it. It's on Netflix. It's fucking fun. It's so much fun. Oh, wait, no, it's not on Netflix.
Is it not?
No, it's not a Netflix movie. But you can rent it on Prime. I don't know. You know how to find things. You know how to find fucking movies. You don't need me to tell you.
It will be on Netflix very soon. Once.
Yeah, if Netflix still exists.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay, this movie, I don't even know. So it's called The Devil's Own from 1997, starring Harrison Ford and Brad Pitt.
Okay.
And it has Brad Pitt as like an IRA agent, like Irish Republican Army.
Okay.
Who goes to America to like secure missiles, and he lives with Harrison Ford, who's a cop. And then like things go sideways with Brad Pitt's like deals, and Harrison Ford finds out about it, and like they have their little showdown.
Whoa.
And it has like some really questionable dialogue.
Okay.
That sort of it rationalizes the IRA.
Okay.
Sort of thing.
Okay.
Which I don't really have thoughts on that either way. I don't know enough. But Brad Pitt himself has called it the most irresponsible bit of filmmaking, if you could call it that he's ever seen. He fucking despises this movie.
Really?
It was not critically liked at all. I thought it was actually pretty good. I don't know. I seem to like it more than critics or audiences. But I think I really liked the interplay of Brad Pitt and Harrison Ford. I thought that was fun. They did a good job. And regardless of political ideology, the speeches that are given can be kind of like likened to any other thing, because it's basically the crux of it is Brad Pitt's father is killed in front of him when he's a kid. And you can sort of think about it as any authoritarian government anywhere coming in, killing your family, telling you you're worthless. And like, what are you supposed to do in the face of that? Mm-hmm. Like, is it justified to be violent? I don't know. Interesting question.
Yeah.
And I thought the movie like grappled with that decently well.
Okay.
It's not super deep, but
dude,
I don't know. It was weird.
That's a great point, because I mean, when it comes to that, the Irish struggles and the Irish against like the British and the English, I mean, I've actually like read a lot of books about it. I'm kind of interested in like the conflict. Definitely more aligned with the Irish plight, you know?
Yeah.
But no. I mean, I like it more when movies bring up this idea and this weird like thing where it's like, how far are you willing, allowed, and is tasteful, you know, and palatable to society to go? Like when it comes to like your cause. And like, even for me, like, I totally get where they're coming from, and the atrocities that the British have committed on the Irish are tenfold, you know, but over the course of like history and things like that. However, it's hard to stand in line behind the guy who like sets off a car bomb that kills like 20, 30 innocent people, some children who have nothing to do with the conflict, right? And I get like some people are going to be as radical enough to say, well, that's what we meant to do, is like to send a message so they'll listen to us now. But it's, I don't know. It's interesting. But the way you described it at the beginning, this like father revenge thing, it reminds me of Gangs of New York almost, with this like Irish background thing.
Right.
Wait.
It's not nearly as well done as that.
I have one question really, though.
Yeah.
Does Brad Pitt do an Irish accent?
Oh, full on.
Okay. I gotta see this movie.
He caught a lot of shit for it, I guess, but apparently, and this is just from IMDb facts, I guess like Irish people didn't think it was nearly as bad as a lot of Hollywood Irish accents.
Okay.
I had that question throughout the movie. I'm like, is this a good Irish accent? I don't even know. Or is this Lucky Charms territory? It's not for me to judge. I really don't know.
Okay.
But it that is an interesting point that might make you want to watch it.
Oh, I definitely want to watch it, dude.
Fucking Brad Pitt doing a full-on Lucky Charms.
Yeah.
You know?
He was known for the 90s, like Keanu Reeves, for just doing a bunch of these crazy accents and like being really bold about it. And like,
yeah, wasn't he like an Australian?
Oh, dude,
in one of them?
There's an Australian one. There's one where he's English. There in Meet Joe Black. He does like the patois, I think is how you pronounce it, the Jamaican accent. Like, dude, it's an interesting movie. That movie is like I don't know, it's like a romantic.
It did Jamaican? The fuck?
Oh yeah.
I gotta see this
for a few scenes. Now. Like,
okay,
yeah, the
premise, not the whole movie.
The premise is that he is like death incarnate in this beautifully handsome man that is Brad Pitt. And like Death decides to take some time to stroll around on Earth because he thinks it's interesting. So he like falls in love with a girl, and he's attached to Anthony Hopkins, who's like the guy who he's supposed to take into the afterlife. And he's like, you know what? I'll give you like a few weeks because I want to try this like life thing out for a little bit. It's an interesting movie. It's like 3 hours long, but there's this scene.
Really?
Oh, it's so long. There's this.
That can't be that long. I'm calling bullshit.
Is it?
I'm calling bullshit. Meet Joe Black. Oh my God, it's 3 hours long.
Is it? Okay, I was like, dude, it has to
right.
be so long. It's such a slog of a movie.
Holy shit. Okay.
But he meets this Jamaican woman, you know, and like in a hospital, and she recognizes him. She like sees through his facade, and she's like, oh, my time is here. And he just goes full on into the accent. And it's very unsettling. Oh, dude.
Holy shit.
7 years in Tibet. He plays like that Austrian
7 years in Tibet.
climber.
Yeah, Austrian. Okay, that's what it was. But yeah, I'm curious what you'd think of this movie, because you could easily like it or easily think it's fucking terrible, or kind of be in the middle like me.
Okay.
You'd probably be in the middle. I don't know.
I mean, I do really like Harrison Ford, and like this movie and like the era that it's coming out in seems like it'd be pretty entertaining to watch. I mean, it's giving me like Fugitive vibes almost.
Yeah, it's funny. It comes in that territory of movies that I'm not super critical of, the sort of like 90s actioner.
Like Heat.
Or it's like these movies I grew up watching and loving. I just love the tone of that, like the 90s action movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like a lot more forgiving of it if I like the performances and the people in it. It's just like fun for me, you know?
Oh, I totally get behind that.
It's weirdly nostalgic, even though I've never seen it.
Oh,
you know?
Dude, that happens with me in movies all the time, right? You see a movie from like a time period when you were either a child or like, you know, young adolescent teen, and it's like, I don't know. You could have never seen the movie, but it brings back those feelings like really hard.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I've got 3 more here.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen one of them.
All right.
Maybe 2, but definitely not 3. So the first one is called Margin Call.
I think I have seen this.
By a director called J.C. Chandor, who I've seen the movie he made after this, which is called All Is Lost, and it's basically Robert Redford on a boat, and he says nothing, and it's really great.
Okay.
And then he made another really great movie called The Most Violent Year with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain.
Okay.
But this is his first movie. They made it in about like 3 weeks.
What?
And it's basically like, it's amazing that this movie is as good as it is, especially for me, because it's people in a bank talking about money and how money is like gonna go away. Basically, it's the early like 2008 financial crisis.
Okay.
It's like shadowing that at like one investment bank, and it's got fucking Zachary Quinto, Stanley Tucci, Paul Bettany, Jeremy Irons, Kevin Spacey. If that's gonna trigger you, don't watch it. He's in there, but I mean, he's a good actor.
Yeah.
You can't take that away from him. And it's really fucking good. It's really fucking good,
Really?
Alex. And it's about a subject I don't know anything about or care about at all, which is like the details of finance.
Okay.
And it's all these people, all the people in this movie are so well drawn and so well acted that it's kind of like the iceberg, right? There's just enough on the surface of all of these characters to point to a much bigger depth under the surface. And the way that they interact is great. The filmmaking is great.
I'll have to check this out.
It's just great. It's like I said, it's amazing that it worked as well for me as it did, because I don't care about any of this. I just watched it because I like the director.
There was a film that came out that I didn't like. Same deal. It's called The Big Short. Which,
Oh yeah,
Which is like
Yeah, yeah.
around. It's about the same like material. It seems like
Yeah.
maybe The Big Short has like a little more lighthearted, like comedic tone.
It's more of a comedy,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
But the cast of this movie you're talking about, Margin Call, is pretty stacked. I mean, Zachary Quinto, Stanley Tucci, Kevin Spacey, Paul Bettany, Jeremy
Paul Bettany
Irons.
is fucking great in it. Jeremy Irons is great in it.
I love
Yeah.
Jeremy Irons. I don't know what it is. Like,
Demi Moore is in
yeah, I
there.
was gonna say Mary McDonnell and Demi Moore are both in it. Like, there's some big time actors and big players in this film, and it does seem to be like pretty well liked. That's
Yeah, and
interesting.
it's a really interesting like sort of meditation, or just not even meditation, but showing how people lose their soul to greed, but in a way that's not judgmental either. It's not like telling you that. You just see it, and they're real people. They're just real people lost in the money machine, figuring out how to get out of it alive.
That's cool.
You know? And it's fucking cool. It's really good, and I recommend it.
I'll have to check that out. Okay, Margin
I'm
Call.
starting to lose my voice, so let's keep going
All
here. Last two. Number one is Cosmopolis by David
shit.
Cronenberg. Have you seen this?
No.
So, it's a movie about Robert Pattinson in a car, and he's having conversations with people, and it's very abstract. It's about money and society, and I thought it was really interesting, and I don't remember it very well already. I guess I had a thought, though, and I was like, this feels like it should be a book, not a movie. And then I saw that it was based on a novel, and I was like, okay, that makes sense.
Oh.
Because the performances are all very wooden.
Okay.
It feels like people are reading a script. And I don't know if that's due to like just Robert Pattinson still being young, like not really being a good actor yet, or just the direction. It's very strange, and it's sort of people dancing around through conversations the philosophy of existence and money and society, and like this idea that sort of money equals time. It's very abstract.
Damn.
It's like a semi-successful adaptation of a high-minded literary text that kind of fails but is interesting.
Okay. It did not make a lot at the box office, but I mean,
No, it would not. This
Cronenberg
is not
is-
a movie for audiences.
Yeah. I was gonna
It's
say
a movie for weirdos.
Cronenberg is kind of immune to that, right? Like if you're making a project with someone like him, you're gonna go into it knowing that it's like, okay, this isn't gonna be like the cash cow that we're used to. If you're a studio exec or something, right?
Especially this one. This one is pretty lateral, left of center.
He's got
Yeah.
Juliette Binoche in there. Okay, it's interesting.
Yeah. The best part is the end with Paul Giamatti,
Okay.
and it's sort of they have a really interesting conversation, but
he's a great actor. He's kind of like up and down, I guess, Paul Giamatti, like, but he's turned in some performances that have just been really good. And I think maybe sometimes it's gone a little stale, like his neurotic little thing that he has, but he still has the ability, in my opinion, to be a fucking great actor. And I thought you were talking about Metropolis, excuse me, at the beginning of the conversation. That's why I said, no. Shit. I was damn, you went back far.
I have seen that multiple times.
Yeah, I was like, this is like a titan of film history time, like Fritz Lang.
That movie's cool because you can you can take some substances, and put it on mute and put on whatever fucking album you want.
Oh, dude, that's
interesting.
Great idea.
With some friends, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've heard that people do that.
Okay,
I've never done it myself, obviously. I am a clean boy. I've never touched a drop in my life. Of anything. I'm a good lad. So that's Cosmopolis. It's weird. Watch it if you want to. I don't really care.
Okay.
I don't know. It's weird. And the last one we have for today, in this smorgasbord of nonsense talk, going randomly off on topics, as I lose my voice at the end of my sickness here, is Red Dragon.
Oh, shit.
I had never seen Red Dragon.
Okay.
I have seen Silence of the Lambs probably a dozen times. I only finally watched Hannibal like last year.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it very well. I thought it was okay. And Red Dragon will probably fall into that category.
Yep.
But it's fun. Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter. Even though it's brought up to like cartoon levels in this movie where you're like, that's kind of Hannibal overload.
I know.
Like you're kind of dialing him up to 25 on the cartoon scale.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like Hannibal. It feels like a caricature of Hannibal.
Mm-hmm.
But that performance by Anthony Hopkins is so fucking fun. It's so intense still.
Oh.
That it's cool.
Yeah.
And dude, Ray Fiennes.
Oh, right.
I didn't even realize it was Ray Fiennes for a little while because he's so creepy. And it clicked in my head. I was like, that's fucking Ray Fiennes.
Dude.
Holy shit.
And he was intense in that film. Like,
yeah.
Holy
oh my God.
Mother of God. Like,
I loved Ray Fiennes before I saw this movie. And I was like, wow. I love him even more.
I know. It was such a brooding role. The tattoo, like this weird, soft and like sensitive relationship he has with the blind woman. But I did, I liked it when Emily I watched it because I was like, damn, like it almost added more context to the Silence of the Lambs for me, which made that film a little bit more deep and like rounded out for me. But yeah, I get what you mean about it, like being somewhat middling, kind of okay. There were parts of it that felt like it was like kind of lazy. I don't know. And I don't know, while I think he's a great actor, I don't know how I feel about the casting of Ed Norton.
I don't know how much he cared.
Yeah, it didn't seem like he was like, I don't know, like it was weird. Like maybe the bleach tips is what throws me off. But he's kind of like, he doesn't have bleach tips, but he kind of has like the blonder hair in this film.
Yeah.
Something about it just seemed like I didn't buy him as like this protective like father figure, but he played the detective aspect pretty well. That scene where he's like the family is or Ralph Fiennes like holds him hostage, right? And he's like shouting at him all of his traumas about his grandmother and his mother and like all of that shit. It's fucking that scene was wild. Yeah,
and you got Philip Seymour Hoffman in there too.
Wait, what?
It's amazing that I haven't seen this movie because there's so many great actors in it. I think it's just, I know that it was a Brett Ratner directed movie and I was like, ugh. So, but no, it kind of falls into like this category of what we were talking about with, oh God, what was it called? The Brad Pitt movie.
Like the
where it's like, I don't,
action?
Or no, maybe like The Quick and the Dead, honestly, where it's like, I don't really care how great it is because I had fun watching it for all these other elements. So like the fact that it is stretching the source material so much in terms of Hannibal Lecter specifically.
Yeah.
And like some of the story beats and some of the messiness is fine with me because the tone is good. It looks pretty classy, surprisingly. A Brett Ratner movie.
Mm-hmm.
But the performances carry it, you know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And I love that sort of like gore element. I just love movie gore and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's fun.
It definitely tried to like sell the like, ooh, Hannibal Lecter's back on screen thing, you know, like they could have toned that aspect down a little bit.
You can definitely see why they didn't make another one. It feels like the end. It's like, where do you go after that?
Yeah.
He's already just so cartoony.
I know.
But yeah, and that's I've like almost completely lost my voice at this point.
Oh, man.
But that is our well, dude, I've been sitting here for a week coughing.
Right?
Come on.
It's like
but that's our hangout episode for now.
Yeah.
Where we just talk about a bunch of junk. What's our big takeaway here, Alex?
movies are big projects. You know, cinematography, editing does a lot for the final product. And I don't know. James Cameron, baby.
And
like
James Cameron, baby. Don't watch Margin Call if you don't want to see Kevin Spacey's face.
Yeah. Definitely see
but
Oldboy.
Otherwise, it's really good. Definitely watch Oldboy and Battle Royale.
Yeah.
We have to talk about these at some point.
Oh, we will.
And blah, blah, blah. Thanks for hanging out. Reel Weirdos, 1.5 white dudes with English degrees talking about movies for way too goddamn long.
You know it.
Next week, or later this week, I don't know when, but our next episode, I'll just say that. Our next episode will be Iron Morbius, where we talk about the original Iron Man and Jared Leto thinking he's awesome, but really not.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see y'all next time.
Have a good one, folks.